Okay, we're on.
We're ready. All right. I'd like to call the Liberty Union-Thurston Board of Education regular meeting. I guess I'm not calling it order. We're going to have a public hearing Monday, June 14, 2021, 7 p.m. The public hearing will be held for the opportunity for public comments on Liberty Union-Thurston federal grants. At this time, we are giving the opportunity for public comments for the use of federal grants for 2021, 2022, including all these listed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have Hook Rattle and Cato.
Okay, so, we posted this online and gave the opportunity for people to, request to be able to speak, to give any comments that they wanted. Nobody signed up to comment, so we did what we were legally required to do.
So nobody's comment, nobody's asking? All right. All right, Miss Boyer,
Okay.
roll call, please.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hook Rattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order with roll call.
Ms. Cato?
Here.
Mr. Hook Rattle?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Shook?
Here.
Dr. Walter?
Here.
You guys join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, there are 4 public participation in board meetings. Due to the effect of COVID-19 and orders limiting the size of public gatherings, it is necessary to use virtual meetings methods to support school board meetings. Public participation in the meeting will be limited, therefore, it is recommended by the superintendent public participation be temporarily suspended through June 30th, 2021. 4. And that brings us to department presentation meeting.
Okay, so Janet would like to switch recognition and department presentation, so she can do her recognition first.
Asking a lot.
It's okay, I told her.
All right.
It's all the same, so much.
Walter. Okay then. We're going to do recognition first.
So we've had a fairly successful year, and I'll be sharing more of this in my athletic presentation, but we have 2 of our coaches on our line here, Miss Katie Roth, who is our middle school boys track coach, and Justin Miller, which is our high school baseball coach. So we wanted to take a moment to recognize those teams, and then we'll share some information. Mr. Turner, do you want to go first on the middle school boys track?
I'll walk over here so Katie can see me. Katie, can you see me? Unmute yourself, will you, young lady? I'm very good. You notice I needed a cart to bring all the trophies and plaques and stuff that she dropped off to me. But this is the big one. This is the one we were shooting for. But every invitation, if I'm right, you guys were first, right? Yes. At every invitation that the boys track team went, 70 boys, they placed first in every event. Invitation. So they brought back lots of hardware for us to display, but this was the big one. And this was kind of a night down in Logan Elm that things weren't going real smooth, but Coach Cole Pearden with Katie Roth, they encouraged the boys. We had a lot of problems. We had a relay team that dropped a baton and didn't know what to do then, and they just stood there and looked at it in shock. And that was one that we were pretty well sure that we were going to win that one. And that was some easy points. And that didn't go well, did it? No. No. And there were some other things that night that didn't go well. We had a couple of, all through the season, we were getting first and a couple of the races, and that night we didn't. So, and shot put was another one, right? We normally do really well. And that night we got second, didn't we?
Yeah, there were some surprises for that for sure, but I think it was good because I don't know, it showed all the athletes that there are like people out there that throw or run faster or whatever, and that pushes them. Because I know Aaron, that pushed him all year with throwing because he knew that kid was right there, even though he didn't face him.
Yeah. So anyhow, with their encouragement though, the boys came back and proud to say we have this, and Katie will put the numbers up on the banner in the gym. We do have a problem though. I don't have any space in the trophy case to put this. I ran out of trophy case space. So I've still got it sitting in my office. So if you go by and don't see it in there yet, I've got to figure out how I'm going to get more trophies in a trophy case that's jam-packed. So thank you very much for you and Cole, all the time and effort you put. As young coaches, you've done really well. Appreciate what you've done, all right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to share that Katie and Cole Pearden are involved in all 3 seasons of athletics between the two of them. They help with multiple programs. Katie's a facility manager for me, and both of them do a great job working with the students. So we very much appreciate it, Katie. And Cole, if he's around. All right, so up next, we'd like to recognize Coach Justin Miller, who was assisted by Coaches Casey Farmer and Johnny Putnam for leading our baseball team to the Ohio High School Division III Regional Finals. The team had a final record of 18-7, placing second in the league to the state runner-up, Bloom Carroll. The 2021 baseball season had its challenges, whether that be to weather or COVID. We did lose some games, but quite frankly, I think some of the teams were trying to avoid us. We had 5 teams cancel on us this year, so we were struggling to get games in and working hard to get as many in as possible this year. One of the biggest challenges that we had is once we reached the regional final week, we had 3 seniors that had graduated and started the Fire Academy. So we weren't sure what their participation was going to be until that week. So that was a little challenging, I'm sure, for Coach Miller, figuring that piece out. But the boys were able to come together, work with the Fire Academy. They finished their classes for the day, jumped in an SUV, and traveled the 2.5 hours up to Elida to join their teammates to finish out their season. So that being said, the 2021 baseball team is the first to hold the honor of being in the Elite 8 since 1994. So I just want to congratulate Coach Miller. Coach Miller, do you have anything to share for the season this year?
Thank you very much. I'm just really proud of all of our players. We started with 30 signed up, and by the season's end, we were down to 18 healthy players. And it was just a struggle and a battle all year long. And I'm just really proud of all the boys and how hard they worked through the weight room in the off season to 3 and 4 hour practices, sometimes in the snow. So just have to touch with the players and how hard they worked all year.
So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so we also have 2 senior track athletes that we would like to recognize that competed at the state track meet. So senior Jimmy Rhodes began the year focusing on breaking his own pole vault record. And at the Zuba Relays, the first event of the year, buddy, he sure did that. He not only broke the school record, he also broke the state record, jumping 16 feet 7 inches, which was absolutely spectacular to watch. Scary. I was in the press box, and all you could see was him come up over the bleachers, and he had one attempt where he went back. It was like, is he going to jump again or not? But he did. And again, he broke that state record. I think he had the vast majority of the track, team members, fans, everybody was over there watching him at that point in time. So he went on to break the 110 hurdle record, the 300 hurdle record, which was previously set by his coach, Jake Kemmerer, and the long jump with a distance of 21 feet 11 inches, which was previously set by Rick Hawkins in 1967. That's a long-standing record. He was regional champion in the pole vault, long jump, and 300 hurdles, and runner-up in the 110 hurdles, which qualified him for 4 events in the Ohio High School Division II state track meet at Pickerington North High School. Unfortunately, injury did cut his competition short at the state meet, but he was able to get 1 jump off at his entry height of 14 feet 10 inches, which still earned him second place. So he took state runner-up in the Division II state track meet. Jimmy will continue his career at the University of Pennsylvania. He's a brilliant kid. He's going to have a bright future ahead in his track career in whatever he chooses to do. So we wish him the best of luck. And the last student we'd like to recognize today is Jaden Roach. So Jaden Roach entered her senior year also focusing on improving her own school record in the 400-meter dash, and she did just that no less than 4 times this year, 3 times in the last couple weeks. She was a district champion in the 400-meter dash and the 200-meter dash, as well as regional champion in the 400-meter dash, qualifying her for the Ohio High School Division III track meet at Westerville North. So our girls and boys are in different divisions, which makes things a little difficult there. Jaden continued to improve, breaking her own record not only in the preliminary state race, but also in the state final, setting her final school record at 57.61 seconds. Jaden will continue her education and running career at the University of Rio Grande. So congratulations to Jaden and Jimmy. Their hard work definitely paid off in this year's track season. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you, all your hard work. We all here sitting here appreciate it. I'm sure. All right. Anything? Oh. Now it's
I'm
you
back
again.
up.
Skipping back to number 5, the department presentation by Janet McClaskey.
All right. So I'm standing over here because I don't have much of a voice, so I want to stand by the microphone, if we will, here. There we go. Okay. So the Liberty Union Athletic Department proudly recognizes the value of an education-based sports culture. So one of the things that we do know about student athletes is that they perform better in the classroom, they have better mental health, they're less likely to use drugs or alcohol, they have higher graduation rates, they have higher SAT, ACT scores, and they have a higher, greater post-secondary opportunities as they go along. So over the last 2 years, I shared that the Liberty Union Athletic Department's strategic plan, and over these past 2 years, we've pressed forward, when able, with COVID, implementing or preparing to implement areas identified as needing development. This first slide shows our comprehensive, all-inclusive plan to offer an athletic program that instills pride and tradition in our athletic community. We are focused on leadership advancement, and we did so by developing the student athlete leadership team. So to become a team captain, a student athlete would need to hold a high regard for the requirements of being a good leader and be in good standing with academics, discipline, and the Liberty Union athletic community. The program was marketed to all athletes, and monthly meetings were scheduled during Lion period. The students identified areas of improvement, or buckets, or tiers, if you will, and determined a structure of a student leadership based on need. Students provided resumes for leadership positions, and the advisory committee selected a president, and then the students themselves came back and voted on each of the vice president, secretary, or directors of education. And it's intended that the directors one day would be able to step up to the tier above them, either vice president or secretary, and one of them eventually up into the president position. So we have, an ongoing structure, if you will. The president's primary duties were to be a direct communicator with the advisory committee and lead executive committee meetings. Vice presidents and secretaries developed content for each tier, and all other SALT members chose a tier or team, two of their choice. So when you look at these, if you look at the far left, you have Caleb Brittle, who is the vice president of education, and basically he developed content for his devotionals team, if you will, to roll out to all of the SALT team members. So they developed pieces where they would be able to hit certain topics like leading adversity, effective communication, things like that, that they would be able to come back and basically train our captains, and the captains would take it back to the athletes. So again, it was a shared endeavor in that regard. Braden Shook was the vice president of community relations. So a piece of this, we also had people interested in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Braden Shook felt that he would be able to balance both roles, reach out to the community and feel where they would want our assistance as our student athlete leadership committee, but also be able to kind of start up the Fellowship of Christian Athletes again here at Liberty Union. Clark Hilger assisted with that, and then again the team representatives or the captains would help in reaching out or scheduling community events as they came up. Secretary of Communications was Ember, my daughter, McClaskey, and she was assisted by Katie Wells. They developed a social media piece. They felt that Twitter was the best option for them in regarding communicating some of both the community relations information that would be rolling out as well as the educational piece. So they picked up the positives within the athletic department when we were active and in school, and they rolled out information like athletes that were selected for National Honor Society. They put a piece together, they rolled it out on social media, they recognized postseason awards, they recognized academic awards, they were focusing on that positive, or the education committee would be able to provide slides for them that they would then post on social media. Secretary Activities, Erica Kiefer, assisted by Mary Chestnut. They had the fun job. So they got to come up with the meeting activity, or specifically our lock-in, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I didn't get a chance to share this last year in my report out. I didn't have a report out last year. So we had a lot of fun developing this piece. So we began developing the SALT Team Handbook planning our first interactive event, again, this SALT lock-in, but we had completely stopped when COVID rolled into play. So this fall, we're going to get that going again and continue on some of our initiatives. So on February 16th of 2020, we held our first lock-in with over 70 students. I was shocked by the number of students that came out for our first event. And these were high school students only. So 70 high school students came in. We had several coaches attend the overnight event, including Krista Riddle and Andy Schmitz, Daniel Shirey. We had Cole Pearden. We had Katie Roth. I don't remember Jenny Sage. We had several coaches come in to help us with this. We broke the students up into teams, and they basically had competitions all night within their teams, and we'd come back together and have an educational setting. So students participated in activities requiring leadership, communication, problem solving, and teamwork. There we go. Get some pictures of the event that came up here. So some of the events of the night included the riddle scavenger hunt, where they had to solve a riddle, go find an area that they were supposed to go to or complete a challenge, take a picture, and then move on to the next group. And that coach would monitor that they had completed each of these areas. We had our first annual dodgeball tournament with the Gator Balls. The kids had a blast with that. We had a minute to win it challenge. We had Take the Pact. If you remember, PACT is our core values within the athletic department: pride, attitude, class, talent. So each skit within those 4 areas was based on that particular core value. We had Capture the Flag, which went well into the night, and they had a ball. I didn't think that thing was ever going to end. And then we had much more. They ate a lot of food at night. We fed them breakfast the next morning. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes had a 5:30 a.m. Sunrise service. Mr. Joe Farmer, who's been within the community for a long time, who used to assist with Fellowship of Christian Athletes when I was in school, came back in and had a little devotional in the morning for those that wanted to attend. And again, they were sent home by 8 a.m. that next morning. And this is by far the biggest feedback that I got from this was, when are we doing it again? Can we do this more than one time a year? My answer was no, I'm old, but we will start planning for the next event. All right, so next up, we move on with the strategic plan. In May of 2020, we were scheduled to hold our first Positive Coaching Alliance conference with coaches and athletic staff. And again, that was canceled because we were not able to come in as a group. In late summer of 2021, we will revisit this. So I actually met with the PCA representative today, and we are going to have our coaches clinic in late July. We will have a parent clinic in early August, and then we will move forward with individual athletic teams or groups of teams into the fall. So we'll be able to revisit the Positive Coaching Alliance again, which came out with a strategic plan a couple of years ago. You guys signed it in a contract, unfortunately in February of 2020, and then it was canceled in May of 2020.
Sorry, Jen.
Nope, you're okay. All right, so we work to recognize academic integrity by challenging teams in the Team GPA contest each year. As you can see here, our girls teams absolutely ran away with the top 5 spots this year. Girls soccer took the top spot with a 3.77 team average during their season, while girls basketball was a close second at 3.73. On a side note, the 9 full-time varsity girls basketball players had a team average of 4.2. Pretty stellar. Overall, our teams, middle school and high school, averaged a 3.32, which is down from the 2020 average at 3.51. So hopefully once we get back into session in the fall, we'll be able to bring that number back up for the 21-22 school year. Okay, there's going to be a lot of information on these next couple slides. These are just highlights that I posted up here. So we've had a lot of successes this year, and we've tried to celebrate our successes as much as we could, given the times. So our teams continue to challenge themselves off and on the field of play. 18 of our 20 incoming National Honor Society inductees are current athletes. 11 are multi-sport athletes. Caleb Riddle was selected as the Junior Boys Scholar Athlete representing the Buckeye Division of the Mid-State League. Rachel Miracle and Gavin Estep were selected by the soccer officials for excellence in sportsmanship. Gavin went on to actually earn a $2,000 scholarship from the Central Ohio Soccer Officials Association for his excellence on the field in sportsmanship. I want to be clear about that. And it was due to his sportsmanship and leadership on the field. Our football team held the title of the highest male GPA at 3.4, while building on an 0-10 season by going 8-2, placing second in the league, and going 3 weeks into the playoffs. Coach Shirey was selected by the league for the George Murphy Award. He was also selected the Lancaster Eagle Gazette All-Area Coach of the Year, the Central District Division V Coach of the Year, and the Division V All-Ohio Coach of the Year. Great honors for Daniel Shirey. He continues to do great work with our boys. The pool in the weight room right now is absolutely phenomenal. He set up a challenge for those boys, and they are driven. So, our girls, 8th grade girls basketball team went 34-0 over a 2-year period to earn back-to-back championships. And of course, we've already celebrated our middle school boys track team, which again won every invite and relay leading up to that MSL championship. Girls soccer had their first tournament win ever. It was a great feat for that team. They were excited. Boys soccer and boys basketball qualified for districts. Volleyball, girls basketball, and girls track were district runner-up. Girls basketball coach Andy Schmitz was named Central District Coach of the Year. Baseball earned the district championship, becoming the first baseball team since 1994 to play in the regional final game. And the girls cross country team were district champs, regional runner-up, and placed 15th at the state meet. We had 2 senior wrestlers achieve the 100 win mark, and Drew Walker, who qualified for states as an alternate, and Casey Fleeman. We had 4 individual athletes that competed in a state tournament in swimming, Sonia Bowers, middle school track, Noah Shook in the high jump, and high school track, of course, Jimmy Rhodes and Jaden Roach. We set 8 new school records and 1 state record this year. So again, our athletes were working hard. As we heard earlier, Jimmy Rhodes discovered new talents this year, and Jaden Roach made improvements in her specialty. They are joined by Hallie Warner, who broke the middle school high jump record at 5 foot 2 inches, which was previously held over 30 years ago. Don't tell her I said this. By Aaron Blackson. At the middle school Booker Relays, the high jump relay team of Noah Shook, Caleb Haig, and Cooper Manson also set a new school record. Reagan Farmer overtook the single season batting record, or average record, batting .704 on the season. That's a stellar batting average for a single season. She may have had the opportunity to break additional records, but she was walked over 15 times during the season intentionally. So that might be a record in itself, I don't know. Tyler Palmer was named MSL Boys Soccer Player of the Year. Abby Riddle was selected District 11 Girls Basketball Player of the Year. Jacob Miller and Reagan Farmer were Central District Players of the Year. We had 6 All-Ohioans, we had 5 individual district champions, and there are many more accomplishments that I'm sure I have missed in this presentation. So again, compiling all of this, it was hard to do just because we have so many things coming at us this year, and the kids just absolutely responded every time we kind of challenged them. So it was a frustrating ride this year, but by any means it was fun to watch. Okay, so while we like to focus on the positive, we've had some challenges this year. So with 77 coaches and volunteers on staff, 9 of which are teachers, the LU Athletic Department has spent nearly $2,700 on coaching certifications over the past year. In a COVID year where my budget was tight, that's a lot of money to be spent on coaching certifications. A new coach on average will cost around $150 or a little more depending on the classes that they take to onboard. And again, the vast majority of those courses are up in either 2 or 3 years. So it's a constant with the coaching certifications. Scheduling has been our #1 challenge. From limiting the total number of athletes in a particular space at the school or in a pod early on was very difficult, but also rescheduled events. So for example, in the winter, on an average year, I schedule around 125 events. This year I scheduled 351 winter events. Talk about a puzzle. The Liberty Union Athletic Booster Club lost around 60 to 80 grand on estimate in revenue with the loss of Tag Day, the loss of all of our festivals, the fair booth, the reduced concessions that we had. They took an absolute major hit this year. The LU Athletic Booster Club is meeting here to kind of restructure a little bit, to kind of refocus our push to get some events back on the calendar, finishing up the trailer. We hope to be out at the fishing game for the fireworks for our first event, followed by the Baltimore Festival, and then the Sweet Corn Festival. We've looked at an online tag day this year, a virtual tag day, if you will. So we're going to have to continue to work through those details. I don't know if we're quite comfortable sending athletes back out right now, so we're looking at different options in that regard. The Liberty and Athletic Boosters is absolutely critical to the athletic department. So for example, some of the money that they've donated here recently, $20,000 plus some and more to come for the Linscott complex. My last fall uniform order, $73,000. And people don't think, because we have so many teams in the fall, both soccer teams, both golf teams, both cross-country teams, volleyball, football is of course a big expense. That adds up, and the Booster Club does a lot for our athletic teams. At this point in time, we have voted to extend the rotation a year. We're going to skip a year and purchase, and then come back and purchase winter sports, hopefully if we can recover a little bit this coming season. We took a year off. COVID had a large impact on the student athlete percentage. On any other given year, we average between 62 and 68% of students participating in at least one sport from, compared to our entire student population. This year our numbers fell to 54% at the high school and 50% at the middle school. We lost some kids due to COVID, especially in the fall. Other losses have also impacted the financials within the athletic department. We pulled some numbers here. This slide shows the loss of admissions stemming from the COVID restrictions. On the far left, in the 2018-19 school year, we had an admissions revenue of over $70,000. With 2 seasons complete, but only 4 home football games, because remember we were on that 6-4 schedule for several years. In 19 and 20, we fell to just $61,000. In the 2021 school year, admissions fell to just $42,000, or roughly $28,000 loss over a 3-year period. So we certainly hope to recoup that as restrictions, especially the outside restrictions, have lessened a little bit. Hopefully we are able to kind of get back into the normal swing of things this fall. Another thing that will help us, an average gate in the Ohio Division of Football may have been $1,500 to $2,500, depending on the school that we were playing. An average gate for our non-league games since I've been here, Amanda, Fairfield Union, Bloom Carroll, is around $8,000. Major difference. So we'll be back in the Buckeye Division for this upcoming football season, and that should help us recoup some numbers. Okay. So due to decreased number of athletes, our revenue was further impacted by the loss of participation fees. In the 18-19 school year, this is the top table, we had over $53,000 in participation fees. In the 19-20 school year, we were on target to match the previous year. In the 2021 school year, we were down 130 athletes across all grades, all sports, leading to a $13,000 decrease in participation fee revenue. The bottom table compares total expense versus revenue over a 4-year period. In 2017 and 18, that was our first year. I reserved funds and limited expenses simply because I wasn't sure what was coming at me, so we were just being a little careful that year. In the 2018-19 year, we improved our revenue, but we also spent some money on some training equipment, some team needs that were coming up that year. And then in 19-20, we were on track to have another year of increased income, but COVID kind of put a halt to that. By the shutdown on March 13th of 2020, the spring supply, including weight room implements, had already been ordered, which increased our expenses during that time with a loss of revenue coming in. And then again in 2021, we limited expenses wherever possible due to the loss of admissions and participation fees. That you can see the numbers there. We were well below where we had been, especially in the revenue category. So where do we go from here? So from here, we're going to continue to monitor the latest COVID directives issued by Ohio Department of Health and Ohio High School. We will communicate those changes to our students, parents, coaches, and community as they come through. We will provide vaccination opportunities. I've been working with Andrea, I think it's Dickerson, with the Fairfield County Department of Health. We are trying to identify some dates and times that we're able to provide a vaccination clinic here at school for our athletes. We're trying to time it up as practices come and go just to provide that opportunity because it was announced that student athletes will not have to quarantine if they have been vaccinated yet exposed. Now, if they're symptomatic, that's different, but if they're simply exposed, they will not have to. We're going to, again, revitalize the SALT team that'll start as soon as school starts, and we have line periods that are open and available. I'll work with the new principal to kind of figure out the days because I know there's other clubs and activities that do schedule during that line period, but we'll get that back up and running. And then again, I met with the PCA representative this afternoon to get our, first off, coaches clinic together. Second off, we'll have the parent meeting in early August like we always do with Ohio High School. We're going to roll the PCA into that, and then we'll schedule with the football team the rest of the fall sports, and then rolling into the off-season sports and go over some educational pieces. We will continue to work with the financial recovery piece, working with the athletic boosters. Again, we're going to be doing some work in the next couple weeks to restructure, to look at, again, tiers. People want to own certain projects, so we're going to look at things a little bit differently, create some new committees where people can own whatever they are working on, whether it's nights of races, the food trailer, other events where, you know, the team store they're looking at, or tag day. We're going to kind of look at those areas. And then again, we'll extend that into the athletic department finances to look at where we can recover some things. Had some question about league standings. So this is where we ended up. So the first three columns at the top, you have fall, winter, and spring. And then you have the yearly standings compared to the other schools. So we fell kind of right there in the middle, very close between Logan Elm and Circleville. Interesting enough, Liberty Union and Amanda Clear Creek are the only schools that don't offer every sport. So if you put a person in tennis, you're going to get a point. And unfortunately, we do not have girls and boys tennis, and we do not have, we did not have boys swimming this year. We only had girls swimming. So for those of you that have questions about where we kind of fall in the league, this is kind of where we stand. And then lastly, oh, I think I went too far, but do we have any questions regarding athletics this year?
Nice job.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 7, discussion and approval of the minutes. Which takes us to
23.
23. I figured somebody would chime in there for me.
23.
Nice job, Sean, nice.
Didn't know how your memory was working today, so I'm
Not good. All right. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
so moved.
Second.
Walter and Cato to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Liberty Union-Thurston Board of Education held on May 10th, 2021, as printed. Ms. Boyer?
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Number 8, monthly financial. Mrs. Boyer?
All right, you have our bank reconciliation, and then our monthly report. Go to page 5 on the monthly report. It shows our revenue being up, all other revenue of $74,867. Majority of that is our Medicaid reimbursement. We never know for sure when we're gonna get it. They do a reconciliation, and of that $72,364.39 was the Medicaid reimbursement. And of that amount, $71,785.05 was our settlement from the 2018-19 school year. And they never come any certain month either, anywhere from February through July. And you don't know how much it's going to be. Then on page 7 with the expenditures, most of the difference is with our salaries, which is mainly due to our school counselors. Expense for them gets moved to the wellness grant, and they're talking about taking the wellness money that we get and moving it back to the general fund where it was. So then that expense will stay in the general fund again. And then on page 8 is our interest. And then page 9 is where we stand as far as percentage for the year. And our revenue is all right about 100%. And our expenses are pretty close to where they should be too. And then we have our bills that we pay. And of those, on page 1, check 96476, Perry and Associates for $16,900. That was for our fiscal year 2020 audit cost, and that came from the general fund. And then 96478, First Choice Heating and Air for $38,716.19. That was for the HVAC for the new athletic building. And $14,916.19 came from the building fund. And the general fund was $4,840 for a high school burner. And the balance came from the classroom facility maintenance fund of $18,960 for the middle school geothermal pump. And then on page 2, 96527, towards the bottom of the page, for $42,418.75. That's the interest on our 2016 bond, and that came from the bond retirement fund. And then 96533, Dan Clayton Corporation for $112,311. That was our home bleachers, and that came from the general fund, and that was approved at our April board meeting. And that's what I have for the bills. Then you have our student activity appropriation, and we didn't have any donations in the month of May. So that's what I have.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Cato and Moore. Any discussion? Roll call, Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Hook-Rattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
New business financial appropriation. Treasurer April Boyer recommends approval for the following appropriation changes for the fiscal year 2021. And permanent, B, permanent appropriations. April Boyer recommends the permanent appropriations to be approved.
And that's for the 2022 school year.
Oh, yes, sorry. For the 2022 school year. C, end of fiscal year balance procedures. The treasurer requests to transfer in advance accounts and necessary to close the financial books for the 2021 fiscal year. D, resolution approving invoice payment. April Boyer recommends approval of the following purchase order 487711 in the amount of $15,000 permanent improvement fund for the bus barn. E, service provider. The superintendent recommends approval of the following service provider VIP rehabilitation services for the 2021-2022 school year to provide students who are virtually impaired and blind at $100 an hour. 2, service provider modern office methods for the 2021-2022 school year for paper cut maintenance and support at a fee of $894.40. F is resolution approving Shore Architects. The superintendent recommends approval of the following resolution. Approving contract with the Shore Architect Incorporated for design and construction administrative service. The superintendent recommends approval of an agreement with Shore Architect to provide design and construction administration services for the district's track replacement project. C, revised curriculum director pay scale. The superintendent and treasurer recommends approval of the following proposed pay scale, as you see listed there. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Walter and Hook-Rattle. Any questions? Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hook-Rattle?
Yes. Number 10, new business personnel. Certified substitute list. Superintendent Mike Johnson requests approval to add Olivia Congrove to the list of approved certified substitutes for the Fairfield County Educational Service Center. B, resignations. Assistant High School Principal Holly Griffin has submitted her resignation. Her last workday is July 31st, 2021. Recommend approval. School bus driver Brian Martin has submitted his resignation effective at the end of the school year. And 3, middle school teacher Miss Katie Silver has submitted her resignation effective August 1st, 2021. And see, okay, here we go. C, employee personnel, the superintendent recommends approval to hire the following personnel. Name Mary Davis, administrative assistant to the superintendent. Step 17, 1-year contract effective 2021, 2022. June 15th, effective during June 15th, 2021. Training will be necessary at step 17. 2, Jessica Bolby, art teacher. Salary 1 year, 2021, 2022 contract. Education, bachelor's degree, step 1, starting August 6, 2021. And then we have, I don't know if you guys have filled out or not.
You have the addendum.
Got the addendum, so it's C3 is Marcus Alford, assistant principal, contract 1 year, 2021, 2022, 214 days at step 1, starting date August 1st, 2021. Marcus Alford is requesting a 1-year leave of absence from his teaching position as a 7th grade social studies for the 2021-2022 school year. Superintendent Mike Johnson recommends approval. G is supplemental contract positions. The following personnel are recommended by the superintendent: Jenny Sage, head varsity volleyball coach; Michael Sage, varsity assistant volleyball coach. And we have employee personnel.
D.
All D. Extended learning program, Mr. Tim Harris, elementary principal; Mr. Tim Turner, middle school principal; and Superintendent Mike Johnson request the following personnel to be hired for the extended learning program. The workday will be 7:30 to 12 each day, beginning June 1st through the 18th, for a total of 63 hours per person. The teacher will be compensated at a $25 per hour wage. Let's see. Olivia Congrove, elementary school, extended summer school, effective June 1st, 2021. E is employee personnel. The superintendent recommends approval to hire the following personnel: Patty Clausen, intervention specialist, for the extended extended school year, 12 weeks, 3 hours a week, total 36 hours at a rate of $25 an hour. F, extended time and supplemental contracts. The following personnel are recommended for the extended days supplemental contracts, and there is a whole list of them. And that takes you through G to all the way over to page 29, and a whole list of those. Hopefully you're able to look at them.
Well, G is the supplemental position contracts.
Oh, I guess
The
there's
rest
two
of
separate.
those,
Okay, I got
yeah.
it. Okay, so I'll read that. G, supplemental position contracts. The following personnel are recommended by the superintendent. Again, there's a whole list. H, 2021 summer help. The superintendent requests approval of the following personnel for 2021 summer help at minimum wage, currently at $8.80 an hour. Nick Congrove, building and grounds, effective June 1st. Cole Pearden, building and grounds, effective June 1st. I, correction to the May 2021 minutes. The following personnel should have received a 2-year certified contract, not a 1-year contract. The list of those: Marla Decker, Russell Bradhurst, Natalie Brake, Emma Bacher, and Emily Church. J, salary notice. The following classified employees are recommended for salary notice as printed. And there is a whole list on the next page, which brings me to K. 2-year classified contracts. The following employees are recommended for a 2-year contract. And then L, 1-year classified contracts. The following employees are recommended for a 1-year contract. A list there. M, continuing classified contracts. The following employees are recommended for a continuing contract. There's 4 positions there. Phew, I have to take a breath.
Take a drink.
Man. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Cato
Second.
and Hook Rattle. Any discussion? Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Abstain.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
New business personnel, resignation. Elementary aide Julie Walter has submitted her resignation at the end of the school year. Dr. Mike Johnson recommends approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Hookrattle, Mr. Moore, to approve new business personnel. Ms. Boyer?
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Abstain.
Brings us to 12. New business other. A revision to the district's COVID protocol during the summer break. It is my intent to send out a memo Tuesday, June 1st with directions and guides to our staff and revisions to our COVID protocol during the summer. This will allow us to use the month of June and July to collect additional data and continue to monitor our progress in the addressing and controlling the spread of COVID. The information gathered will allow us to make additional modifications to our protocol if necessary during the first week of August 2021. Section B, policy, the following policy. That's the important part. All right, before I do that, recommended resolution for the, I missed that, sorry. Recommended
That's why I'm
resolution
the
for the
vice
June
president. I'm here to help you.
2021 board meeting. It is recommended that the school district's reset, restart, and reopening plan be suspended and filed for future references and reinstated if there is a resurgence of COVID or the safety and health orders are reinstated by the federal, state, or local authorities. We're all waiting for that line right there. That was an important one. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, yeah. You finally done something this year. Okay. Policy B. The following policy was presented for review at the May 10th board meeting and is presented for approval at this time. Purchasing procedures. We all had copies of that the last time we were here. And C, field trip proposal. Superintendent Mike Johnson recommends approval of the trip's 8th grade field trip proposal. Middle school teacher Mr. Keith Robinson is requesting permission to take his 8th grade history class on a field trip to Washington, D.C. on May 11th through the 13th, 2022. Second field trip proposal. Field trip proposal of the high school CCP US history teacher Mr. Keith Robinson is requesting permission to take the junior senior class on a field trip to Washington, D.C. on November 12th and 13th of 2000. Should that be 22? Or that's going to be this year? Okay, and 21. Recommend approval. D, job description. The superintendent recommends approval of the following job description. Liberty Union-Thurston Local School Assistant Principal, new qualifications. It lists the job duties. We want Liberty Union-Thurston Local School Teacher is new. Liberty Union-Thurston Local School is registered nurse. Registration duties. And that brings us to D. The superintendent or handbook. The superintendent and building principal recommend approval of the following handbooks: middle school staff handbook and student handbook. The elementary school staff handbook and student handbook. The athletic handbook. F is student fees. The superintendent and building principal recommend approval of the following fees. And there are a list of middle school, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade middle school fees, and 8th grade middle school fees. Do I have a motion to approve?
I just have just a couple questions.
Okay.
On the job descriptions, in D, with them being, they all say new. Did we have job descriptions? I'm assuming we had job descriptions for assistant principal before, and you just
There was nothing in the books.
nothing on the books. Fascinating. Okay. And nothing on the books for a teacher.
Right.
Okay.
Or we're taking care of that.
Generally for a teacher.
Right. I know you've got, yes. I've
Especially
seen-
teachers.
Okay, and then on the nurse one, we've got the school registered nurse reporting to the superintendent. That appears to be new. Do
was that individual reporting to somebody else before and now reporting to you? Because it's in yellow.
I know, I can't remember who she reported to. Anybody?
They reported as a superintendent.
I don't, thought it was never listed, I couldn't, so,
Okay.
and.
So now you have a new hire, or a new responsibility, congrats.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be all that bad.
Alright. Any updates that any of you wanna call out for your handbooks? Anything that's like, I mean.
Extensively different.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty different from the one from last year that I inherited, so, I always send in actually physical copies home to every family, so they can make sure that they do look at it, because it is very different. Our school fee schedule is in the handbook as well, in the student handbook.
Okay.
So I know Tim put his separate, mine's within that, but yeah, mine's pretty extensively different for the student handbook, so I wanna make sure to take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, you added, what did you add, student due process, some schedules?
Yeah, schedules, trimesters.
Yeah.
PBIS stuff.
Probably changed the grading, right? Didn't you
Yeah,
change
the
all of
grading
that
is
stuff that we
different
talked
there.
about before?
It's all in there.
Okay.
So yeah, they definitely want to take a look at it.
Okay.
It'll be online, in the portal, in their hand, and that's pretty extensive, so hopefully that'll be okay.
Okay.
Mine's basically years, the dates have changed, except for student handbook. Remember I did a presentation to you, we changed some things. We're gonna allow water bottles to be carried around, backpacks. We never allowed the Chromebooks to go home, but so far, Dirk has told me that our cost of repairs is down, and so it's working. So we're gonna allow them to go home, and so the pandemic's caused us to really look at some things different. So there's some few changes in the student handbook, but nothing really major, except we're allowing some things to occur.
Bring the high school at the next meeting.
That's fine, yeah.
The only change with the athletic handbook primarily is verbiage concerning how documentation is collected. Everything is now within the parent portal, so we changed the verbiage on that. And then the grades. We held a GPA standard for freshmen at 1.75 or 2.0 for 10th through 12th graders. We have dropped the 1.75 down to the middle school, so 7th, 8th, and 9th graders will now have to hold a 1.75 GPA per grading period, or they'll have that one time per year waiver, kind of as a warning, and let's work on your grade. So we dropped that down to the middle school to address those areas.
Cool. Thank you. I'll make a motion.
Flip rattle. So second,
Second.
Mr. Moore, to approve new business items. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
The following policy is presented for review only at the meeting and will be considered for approval at the July 12th, 2021 at the Board of Education meeting. Technology accepted use policy and handbook. You guys will have a chance to read all that before we come back next time. So do I have a motion to go into executive session
So moved.
Second.
for personnel?
A2 and 7.
A2 and 7. I have motion by Cato.
I'd like to add something on there, and
Okay.
also be probably E.
Second by
Walter.
Walter.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Carol.
Carol. Mr. Walter to go in at 8:56.
7.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Again, here for you.
I'll just see if you guys are paying attention.
Yeah,
Roll call.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
We will return from executive session with no